So first of all, let's start with just your background. Like, give us every sense about where you grew up and the background here in Philadelphia. Where'd you grow up?
Most certainly. I mean, first off, thanks for having me, and shout out to all you guys for just showing up and coming. I know this isn't a traditional class. You don't have to be here. You're here voluntarily, so like that means a lot. You guys shouldn't take that lightly. So thanks for having me. I think me personally, I'm from Central Jersey, Piscataway, New Jersey, so right around where Rutgers is. I think growing up for me, basketball and money were the only things that ever made sense. So I had to figure out how to make a career out of that. Like, I wasn't necessarily the best at science. I wasn't the best at history. Wasn't the best at English. But you put money and basketball together, like something just different comes out of me. So I just spent my whole time in college trying to figure out how to make a career out of those two. And thankfully it worked out.
All right, college, let's go. What'd you do in college? What'd you pursue?
Yeah, so in college, I went to East Stroudsburg University up in the Poconos, if you guys have ever heard of it. Not too far from here. But while I was there, I studied sport management. And while I was there, I really credit all the opportunities I was involved in on campus to how I kind of translated into this 10-year career. I'm talking about being in the sport management club, being in the campus activity board, cinema club, African American Student Alliance. Like, honestly, anything you could think of, I was trying to get my hands on it. And my time at East Stroudsburg, I feel like helped me get to where I'm at now.
All right, so internships, what'd you do while you were in school?
Internship. So I think that's like the $1 million question, like, because I think especially when we're in college, we're always trying to figure out how do we get an internship. A lot of times we wait till the end of our junior year, we wait till senior year. While I was in college, I had the wonderful opportunity to intern with NASCAR. So my junior year, I spent the summer working the ARCA series, the Indy Cup, and I think the Sprint at the time, which it's changed since then. But that was my internship junior year. And then senior year, I interned with Octagon, which is a marketing agency. Their top client was BMW at the time. So I lie to you guys not. They gave me a $80,000 BMW, told me to travel the country for about 4 months over the summer, putting on activations at different sporting events at different dealerships. So those were my two main internships, and I had another one with the Children's Defense Fund, where I help young kids with sport-related activities.
All right. We got to go to the summer driving around in the BMW.
Yeah.
All right, so you said activation. Explain to them what activation is.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we know what marketing is. I think activation is just another form of the marketing, but it's more talking about like how you bring it to life. So if I'm BMW, I'm trying to get people to purchase cars. There's no secret around that. But it's like, all right, cool. Now, how do I convey this message to the audience without making it feel like this big sales project? So their thought process, BMW, was like, all right, cool. How about we get kids that are kind of fresh out of college? It sounds crazy now when you think about it, but how about we get kids fresh out of college, give them these vehicles, have them show up at different places around the country so we can have tentpole moments throughout the entire United States. And when we show up to these locations, these students will pitch to the consumers how great it was driving the car all around the country. So you think about it, like somebody like your age, if you had that opportunity, you get this car and you have to tell somebody about it months later, it's going to sound like the best thing in the world because it's something that you haven't experienced before. So what I would do is we would go to these different dealerships. We would allow people to test drive the car. We might go to different sporting events, let people hop in the vehicle, check it all out. But while they're doing that, you got me and 3-4 other 21-year-olds talking about how great it was driving all around the country. So just with that, I went to 40 cities in 17 different states. Started in Jersey, went down to Texas, then went up to Montana and Minnesota area. So saw a bunch of the world, but that was a great, definitely a great experience.
That was right after your senior year at Stroudsburg?
Yeah, that was right after the senior year at Stroudsburg. And one thing that I want to bring up is about how I got that opportunity. Okay. It's not anything I knew about. It's not anything you probably see on LinkedIn. It actually came through a relationship with a professor. So I'm sure Mr. Neal here, you guys all have great relationships with him and the rest of your professors here. But one thing that I had to figure out in my journey, because I didn't have parents that graduated college, I didn't really know how to figure all this out. But one thing I learned was access. Like, I needed access. So if you don't know anybody that works in sports right now, and actually by a show of hands, like, how many of you guys personally in your personal network know somebody that works in sports right now? That's amazing. That's beautiful. When I was your age, I had zero. I had none. I didn't know anybody. We didn't have pizza with the pros when I was coming up, so it wasn't that easy. But I bring up access because if you don't know anybody that works in sports, the first thing I would ask you to do is ask yourself, who do you know that knows somebody that works in sports? And for me, all I had were professors. That was all I had. Like, parents didn't go to college, didn't know anybody, so it was professors. So how many of you guys go to office hours right now? Consistently. It's all right. I get the same answers all the time. Everything changed for me when I started looking at office hours as an opportunity to grow my network, not just go and change my grade if it's bad. So I started hanging out in my professor's office hours, asking about internships, going there when I didn't just need something, but I was really looking to gain knowledge and information and then give that back in exchange. Like, hey, like Professor Neil, like, hey, I might know somebody like in our class that feels like maybe we should tweak this that way or tweak this way so it engages with us a little bit better. So I bring all this up because the moment I started going to my professor's office hours, I think the more I started to become top of mind for him. And once he got an opportunity that came across his desk that was like a once in a lifetime thing, the person asked him, do you know anybody responsible enough to drive this expensive car around the country? And he had one person in mind because I was going to the office hours. I was telling him about the clubs I was doing, the volleyball tournaments I was throwing, the basketball tournaments. So just having that consistent face-to-face and having your professor look at you is not somebody who just is looking for something or needs something or wants something, but is trying to provide value to them and have a real relationship outside of just change your grade. I think changed everything for me. And he gave me that opportunity and gave me the NASCAR opportunity. So both internships came from a referral from one professor.
Wow, that's great. My office hours are right here. Pete's every Monday. Here I am. Come see me. All right. Well, lastly, and I want them to ask the questions, but lastly is about the Sixers. How'd you land the Sixers job?
Once again, man, we talk about access. Like, there's 3 things you'll hear me harp on about this whole journey, and I've put it down to an acronym called AIR. So that way it's digestible and it's easy for everybody to remember. And the A is for access. Like, it's hard to even get the opportunity if you don't have access to the right rooms. I think we all can blind apply on LinkedIn. We all can blind apply on Teamwork Online. But if we don't have the actual access to get face-to-face with some of these hiring managers, it makes that task that much more daunting and difficult. So access, you talk about how I got my job with the Sixers. How many of you have heard of Teamwork Online before? Great. How many people have been to a Teamwork Online event before? Cool. So we're growing. We're getting some progress. A lot of people have heard of it. Not a lot of people have been to events before. So my senior year, as I was finishing up one of those internships, I paid $100 to go to a Teamwork Online networking event. Didn't have the money. I had a part-time job. I had $100 saved. I drove 2 hours from East Stroudsburg to Philadelphia to go to the Sixers Arena, and they actually have one coming up on April 9th. They don't pay me to promote that. I'm really just letting you guys know. But I paid $100 to go to a networking event where I met the hiring manager in person. So we talk about access. I went from a guy that was 0 for 30 for internships. Like, I want that to be clear. Like, I applied for 30 different internships. I probably had 30 different interviews. And I went 0 for 30 before I got those 2 big ones we're thinking about. So I don't want you guys to think I had this poise and I had it all figured out and it was easy. No, I went 0 for 30. I kept hearing no until I had to look in the mirror and say I had to change something with my approach. Which then, so access, paid to go to Sixers networking event, then information. Because that's what the I is for. You can pay to go to a Teamwork Online event. You guys can go to the Sixers event on April 9th. The thing though is, how do you know you're saying the right things when you meet the hiring manager? So it's like, I can get you a job interview with the Sixers right now. I can get you in a Teamwork Online event right now. But when you go in there, how do you make sure that you're putting yourself in the best light? How do you make sure you're operating off the right information? If somebody says, tell me about yourself, it might not necessarily be that you like to eat pizza or you like to watch The Office on the weekends or whatever it is. It's more so about, like, what is it about you that makes me want to hire you? So it's like operating off the right information. And then the last but not least, the R, for me, is representation. It's a big reason and a big part of why I come and travel, do these type of events, because everything also changed for me when I saw somebody that worked for the New York Knicks who went to East Stroudsburg University, who hopped on the phone with me from a LinkedIn message. Once I had those 3 things, I got the access, I was able to get in the room, I was able to start operating off the right information, going to Career Development Center, speaking with my professors, speaking with this gentleman I met that worked for the Knicks. Like, he gave me the right information. And then that last piece, the representation, I feel like it's so much easier to believe that you can do something when you see somebody doing it. See somebody that you see a little bit of yourself in. It doesn't have to be the same gender. It doesn't have to be the same race. I look at stuff and I see myself in Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these other people as well. And you should too. So it's like, I think when you can find somebody that you just see a little bit of yourself in, it makes it that much more realistic. So if there's anything you take out of today's conversation, whatever it is you want to do, no matter what it is, first figure out how to get the access. You get the access, make sure you operate off the right information. And once you have those 2, last but not least, look for your representation. I mean, I think you guys have an amazing thing going on here with Pizza with the Pros. Like, that's, at least over 10 opportunities, I think, on the Mondays. Like, and that's just one semester, and you're doing it every semester. Like, you guys are so lucky and fortunate to have this, to be able to get that representation. So just keep looking for it, checking it out. But those are the 3 things I think that helped me get to the Sixers and start there.
All right. How many of you are aware that April 9th was a Sixers career fair? Okay. We posted that in the Pizza with the Pros group me chat, did we not? Right? We did, right? Okay. Who saw it in the Pizza with the Pros group me chat? Okay. So then wait, some of you didn't put your hand up though, saying you were aware of it. All right. So we try to make sure that you're aware of events because that's part of it too. You have to know when is an event. So we try to keep you abreast of what's going on. All right. That was very well put about the way you kind of classify everything and helps you on your journey. All right, let's go with questions. Sean, you want to go first?
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
So, you work with LeBron. I was wondering, how did you get the school started that he built?
Oh no, that's a great question. So for clarity, I don't work with the school directly. Unfortunately, I wish I could answer that question for you, but I don't have any ties to the I Promise school. So just to break it down so you guys all understand. So LeBron has a company called the SpringHill Company. That's our overarching company. Underneath it, we have a few umbrellas. One of them is like SpringHill Productions. So that's where we're doing movies like Space Jam 2, Hustle with Adam Sandler. We got a production company with Joel Embiid that we just started, one with Naomi Osaka as well. But then we do a lot of stuff with arts and entertainment and fashion as well. So that's SpringHill like Productions. Then we have Uninterrupted underneath the SpringHill Company umbrella, where we work with athletes and entertainers and brands to help bring things to life. So I worked with like Verizon, the NFL, and Apple Music to kind of bring this athlete curated playlist together this past NFL season. And then we culminated at the Super Bowl, where everything came to life with a live performance with Anderson .Paak, Toby Inigwe. We had Ed Reed, Sauce Gardner, and a few others on the panel as well. Right now, working on some stuff with Gatorade as we've done in the past, and Juju Watkins. I think we've seen her at USC, Champs, etc. And then we have another company called the Robot Company that does like a lot of whitelist agency work. So if you've seen anything in the NBA this year with Drewski, that's them doing all that stuff. So Drewski, Giannis, Google Pixel, that whole campaign is Robot. So those are the three pillars underneath, and that's what I primarily touch. And the show The Shop is under Uninterrupted as well. But those are the three things I primarily touch. So LeBron owns the company, Mavs the CEO, but I have no ties to the I Promise school or anything like that.
All right. Next question. Where are we going? Go ahead, Ryan.
So you said you majored in sports management.
Yes.
So how did how did that major go from you Chicago University?
No, for sure. Thanks for asking, man. Like I told you, sports and money was the only thing that made sense to me. So like those first 2 years where I was taking a lot of traditional classes got relatively tough. But junior year, once I got into sport management, I mean, like we're watching Sports Center at the beginning of the class, talking about how to build arenas, how to build teams, how to make money in concessions. And once you apply to everything to sport, like I don't know, man, it just lit something up under me, man. It was great. So for me, I enjoyed it. It was great. Being in the clubs allowed me to really branch out and figure out what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. And I would encourage all of you, if you don't know what it is you want to do yet, that's perfectly okay. You're young. But I'm a firm believer that there's something that's going to teach you what it is that you want to do. And that is gaining experience. Experience will teach you two things. It'll teach you what you're good at and what you're not good at and what you don't ever care to be good at. So by joining these clubs, I was able to market the basketball tournament, market the volleyball tournament, market the bake sale, do those type of things. But I was also able to do administrative work like tracking the finances, tracking the budgets, all these other things. And just by being in those 5 clubs and having different roles, it allowed me to really pick my niche and say like, all right, I like promoting. I like getting people to show up. I like passing out the flyers. I like selling tickets. Like that is where my bread and butter is. And that experience at East Stroudsburg and in those clubs allowed me to figure out what it is I wanted to do later on. And as you can see, like with the Sixers, I was in ticket sales, I was in business retention, then I was in corporate partnerships, and then now I'm at corporate partnerships with the SpringHill Company. And corporate partnerships like I'm doing now, in the grand scheme, yes, it's very different, but it's no different than putting together a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at Rowan University and talking to the local pizza shops or Subway shops or barber shops or any of them trying to get them to sponsor your event. It's like the same thing I'm doing now on a different scale. But to answer your question, I would have never known I could do this now if I didn't do, the 3-on-3 basketball tournament at East Stroudsburg, trying to get a sponsorship for it, back in like 2014. So like what you're doing now often translates later on. So definitely get that experience now if you can.
If you go pizza, by the way, it's got to be Chickies and Pete's Pizza.
Chickies and
because
Pete's.
they're our sponsor of
Yes.
Pizza with the Pros. So we gotta go Chickies.
Shout out Chickies and Pete's.
Shout out Chickies and Pete's. All right, how many of you want to go down marketing? By the way, I want to get marketing. Okay, there's a few of you that want to go marketing, and there's probably some that not sure. They might eventually go down marketing, but they don't know that they want to go down that path.
Yeah.
Ava, you had your hand up, right? In marketing, what is it about marketing that intrigues you?
I think a lot of it, like during COVID and all, just seeing how brands were able to build themselves so fast.
Yeah.
It just always interests me, and then on the sports side of it, like especially with the Phillies over the past couple of seasons, yeah, they did well, but I think a lot of it had to do with their media and posting and marketing things. That all the shops like sold so much stuff by folks.
So
Yeah, no, for sure.
she's going to work for the Phillies this summer. So from that
congrats.
perspective, so what do you take from when someone young like that is figuring out this part of the business? What are the things that you learned early on that you think would be beneficial for them to be aware of?
Yeah, first off, great question. I like how you posed it. But the first off, like you got to be naturally curious. Like the market is forever changing. Like what worked in marketing maybe a year or two ago, more than likely doesn't work today. So I would definitely encourage you to be that young person that has new ideas, bright ideas, bring something fresh to the table. Like even somebody like me, like 10 years in the game now, there's things that are happening that 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds are seeing that I just can't see from the lens that I'm at right now. So you have a very, very advantageous point of view being so young, fresh, like mind working. So like I would just encourage you to stay up on the latest trends, what's going on, but then also have that confidence in your voice to know what it is that the audience wants. Because a lot of times you guys are the target audience. Like you're the target demographic. Not a lot of times these, people up in higher positions that are a little older, like you guys know what's fresh, young, hot, and what's coming next. So trust your voice, but definitely be naturally curious because things are changing every day. And as long as you can always bring bright ideas, you always have a job. So keep that in mind.
All right. Next up, where are we going? I'm gonna ask you one about. Oh, Leah, let me. I do want to bring about your company too. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leah.
Alright, how did it end? Why did you start your mentorship program that you do?
That's what I was gonna bring up.
Oh man, no, makes sense. I'm sorry. Give me a second. I always struggle with how to tell this story, just because like I don't want to be a Debbie Downer with it, but I'm just being honest. Like that's all I can do is give y'all honesty, transparency, and authenticity. So to keep it honest with you, like I told you, I was that kid trying to figure it out. I was your age. I didn't really see light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was on my journey, but I had a best friend with me in college who was a big time athlete on the football team at our school. And he used to tell me all the time, like, if I don't end up in the NFL, I'm probably going to be dead or in jail. And I used to just joke and laugh about it. But like, how many people here wanted to play professional sports when they were growing up? So you get that feeling, right? You get that feeling. Even though it might not be that serious to you or that real, like I didn't realize it was for him. He used to tell me that all the time. If I don't make it to the NFL, I'll probably be dead in jail. And I felt that because basketball and money, I told y'all, it's the only things that made sense. I don't know what I would have did if I didn't figure it out. But unfortunately, we wound up graduating college. I go to work for the Sixers. He doesn't make it to the NFL, wasn't qualified for grades. I'm talking about like scouts were coming to practice in the summer to see him play. Like, and they really like thought he was going to be it. He was the team captain, never played a snap. Like he was it. But over time, I started my career with the Sixers. He winds up working for the government, then working at Hertz Rental Car. And he has a conversation with me one day. He's just like, I feel like I'm lost. I feel like I'm losing that life, this, that, and the third. So while I'm driving to Miami one day to go to a Jay-Z concert, I get a picture of his obituary from somebody that says like, hey, didn't you know this guy? And I'm like, didn't I know him? I just talked to him last week. So what do you mean? So out of that, like that conversation of him saying he felt like he losing that life, that's where I coined the term winners only. To me, it's just like no matter what you're going through in life, like you a winner. Like I think the word winner is just powerful anyway. Like even when you just say who won and who lost, who won is just held on this pedestal. And it's like, I just want to encourage everybody that you have that power to hold yourself up on that pedestal at all times. Like you're a winner no matter what. It's really all about your perspective. So sometimes life can feel like it's beating you up, but the race ain't over, the fight ain't over, and you keep going. So that was how the name got started. And then from there, I just felt like now that I have the information, it's my duty to go and give it back to people. I'm not saying people are going to go do that same thing and take their life or anything like that. But if there's any part of my journey, especially being 10 years in now, that can spark a thought for you, that can open a door for you, that can just get you into, like, give you that access, give you that information to just enjoy this feeling that I feel of working for my favorite team than working for my favorite player. Like, that's why I do it. So we can talk about it afterwards, but thewinnersonlygroup.com, it's a website. You can go on there, sign up to speak with me for free. 15-minute call, 30-minute call, doesn't matter. I'm not asking for money. I'm not charging. I'm not selling you t-shirts, not selling you an e-course book, nothing. Like, it's like, if you want to go on here and it's time available, it's synced with my calendar, so it has my availability. You want to go in there and just say, Marquise, I'm going through some things. I don't know. I just need 10 minutes. You can go book it on there, and you'll get an acceptance note, and that's why I started it.
Dr. Richmond, let me bring you in on this. How about this young man doing what he's doing right now?
It's incredible. What would you say is the key, if you could go back in your mind, being 20, 21 years old, what is the key to getting to where you are now? Is it mindset? Is it consistency? Is it academics? What would you say? If you can give us a couple of keys to success.
Yeah. Of course, I'm always going to harp on my acronym. I'm always going to start with that. Get the access, get the information, get the representation. But I think you're absolutely right. It starts with the mindset. I mean, I think, the hardest part of this journey is figuring out who you are. Who it is that you want to become too. Like, who you are today isn't who you're going to be in 10 years. So it's like really finding out what it is that you're good at, what you care about, what's passionate to you. Because a job's a lot easier to get done when you actually enjoy doing it. So I just encourage you all to look inward, think about your mindset, your perspective, and then go out there and get those three things. Get the access, get the information, find your representation. I've interviewed probably 100, between students and people that work in sports, I've interviewed about 100 individuals, and everything always ladders back into that AIR, like whether it's somebody they met, an event, whatever. Like right here, you're getting all three things, like the access, the information, and the representation. So just get those things, but most importantly, look inward, because that's where you'll find a lot of your answers.
Really well put. Very well put.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next? What do you got? Go ahead.
So, focusing just on the Sixers, because it sounds a little different from when you were describing SpringHill, what you did there and what you do now. What was your favorite part of that job, working for a team as opposed to working for a company?
Yeah, no, thanks. Great question. I mean, it was a dream come true. Sixers my favorite team. I think, I was talking with somebody about this the other day, and there's not many things you know longer than your favorite team. Like, usually your favorite team, you start at like 5, 6, 7 years old. Like, for me, that era was Allen Iverson. So, early 2000s, like, that was really my time. So, my favorite part about that would be, of course, like being able to introduce clients to Allen Iverson. Like, this is somebody I've been watching since 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. Now we're together in suites, we're hanging out, closing deals, getting business done. So that's been beautiful. But then also just going through those process years, man, that was tough times. Like, the year we were the worst, do you remember what our record was? Does anybody remember? Like, it's 82 games in the NBA season. Do you remember what it was? 10-72, you're right. And that's the year they told me to come up with.
They've been worse before, though.
They have.
They were 9 and 70,
one time.
9 and 73.
One time, yep. We definitely were worse before. But during that time, they're like, figure out ways to sell tickets and all these other things. And I think through that moment in those trenches, that's where I found my best friends. Like that year, 2014, 15, 16, like I'm in one of the guys' weddings next week, was in one of the guys' weddings last year. Like, so for me, building those relationships, building those bonds, building that camaraderie, it was like nothing you could ever take away. We weren't good yet. So I built a lot of thick skin there. But then, like I said, just the fans, man, the arena, the energy. Like, even after I left, I had to deal with, like, just trying to adjust back to regular life. And I don't want to make it sound that crazy, but, you spend 8 years, every week it's like Kobe's last game. Like, I'm waking up like Kobe's coming in this week. It's his last game. He's going to retire. All right, LeBron's coming in this week. Russell Westbrook's coming this week. Like, every week I'm waking up like, who's coming to town this week? And then after it ended, it's just like, all right, cool. I just go to work and we done. I mean, I can go to the game, but I think that's what I enjoyed the most, man, was going to the game, seeing the players, being cool with AI and just living that lifestyle, man. It was beautiful for sure.
So I asked these students, like, why do you want to be involved in sports? Say what you just described.
Yeah.
But it is far more than that.
Way more.
So why don't you share that part of it to them?
Yeah, I think even the downside of that is, man, you think about how many games are in the NBA season. There's 82. If you're working in baseball, it's like 160 something. So at least half of those games are home games that you have to work at. So I'm talking about 2-3 days a week. I'm working till 10, 11 o'clock at night, long days, long hours. Like there's no real normal schedule or regimen with that. And a lot of times, sometimes your loved ones like suffer the cost of that. Like you don't have as much time to go spend with mom or go spend with dad or whoever you're dating at the moment. So all these things kind of come into play. So it's not always glorious, glitz and glamorous. A lot of hard work, a lot of hours. And then oftentimes a lot of stress too if you're dealing with revenue generating departments. So whether you're in marketing, ticket sales, partnerships, there's always goals and quotas to hit. Like you got a target on your back. So I think those things get very, very difficult. But that's why I always say, if you can figure out what it is that you like to do, it makes it that much more enjoyable, and it doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like an opportunity, I would say. But it's tough.
So you talked about SpringHill and kind of like the flow chart of how the company works in different entities. I guess, what does a typical day-to-day look like for you, whether it's a 9 to 5 or whatever that kind of schedule is?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think every day is different. I'm going into New York City probably 2-3 times a week right now. That's where our office is located in the financial district. So that's been cool. I think every day I'm just trying to get partnerships closer to the finish line. So, I'm working with brands and athletes and trying to gel both of those interests together to come out with a product that everybody can be happy about. So sometimes, you might bump heads internally and externally. But, when you all have a common goal and everybody has great character and wants to work together and push each other towards greatness, it's pretty good. So, like a typical day, no 2 days are the same. The only thing that's the same is we're trying to push this partnership forward. So I'm talking to a lot of internal teams. It might be our apparel team, our social team, our legal team, our finance team, our production team, like our talent team. It's like all these different departments come together to make this partnership successful. And it's like I'm the only nucleus to it all. So at the nucleus of this partnership campaign, whatever it is, like say, for example, Chickies and Pete's want to do something crazy with, Joel Embiid and Maxey and all these players, like I would be the person in the middle that works with all the internal departments to make sure it happens. So it's like, all right, yeah, we're going to produce this content, but then we have to put it on social. Then we're going to put it on social. Well, what are the people going to be wearing? All right, well, if they're going to be wearing it, all right, what legal ramifications are a part of that? Like, what logos can we show? What logos can we not show? So it's my responsibility to know a little bit of everything because I'm talking to every department about how we're pushing this thing forward. So no 2 days are alike, but definitely exciting nonetheless.
Okay, right here.
What has been your most successful partnership, and have you had any fallouts with other companies?
That's an amazing question, and I'm glad you asked. Probably my proudest moment at the 76ers was a partnership I came up with, honestly, out of thin air, like just a thought in my head. And the reason I say that is because during that 10-win season, they asked all of the sales associates at the time to come up with a theme night that'll help drive ticket sales revenue, but also make the company look good. And while everybody came up with these great nights, I'm talking about like Greek Heritage Night, Robotics Night, STEM Night, all these things. I told y'all there's only two things that ever made sense to me. And it was sports and money, right? But during this process, I learned there was another thing I cared about. It was getting my hair cut. I'm being honest. That's why I say all your answers or a lot of your answers will come inward. Trying to chase something that's not you is probably one of the quickest ways to failure. So I told my boss at the time, I don't know a lot about STEM and all this other stuff, but I really like getting my hair cut. Do you think I could do a barber appreciation night one day? It's like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, yes, it does. You think about it. Like, how many, like, we talk about, like, all right, we talk about who have you known longer than your team. You probably know your barber almost just as long. Like, that person's like your therapist. I'm telling you, they give me, like, advice, career advice. Like, when you go to prom, where do you go? You go to your barber. You go to that first date, where you go? You go to your barber. You go get a job interview. I get you a job interview with the Sixers next week. You're going to get a haircut first. I promise you will. So I started breaking all this down to my boss at the time. He's like, you got 2-3 weeks. We'll see what happens. And 2-3 weeks go by, and that's why I tell you guys, access, information, representation will apply to everything. So first, I had to get the access, right? I got this idea, but I'm not really a barber, so I don't know what they want. So I start calling barbers, just saying like, hey, if we did a theme night for you at the Sixers, what would you want it to look like? They're like, hey, I want my shop's name up on the scoreboard at some point. Okay. We want to step on the court and play basketball after the game or take photos. Okay. I want to bring my clients out and I want to look like the man. All right. So I start getting the access so that way I can operate off the right information. So I say, what day of the week is going to work best? Normally I would think like, hey, let's do it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, weekend. For a barber, a weekend is their busiest time. So they were like, let's do it Monday. And I'm like, well, that's great because, you know, when you go to like the NBA or other teams or whatever, the more affordable games are going to be early in the week, Monday. So it wound up working out perfect. So for me, like I started with that. The first year we had about 50 barbers. It wasn't anything crazy. The second year we had 100 barbers. The third year we had 200 barbers. We wound up cutting Joel Embiid in the back of somebody's head. The Sixers sales managers. I'm so serious. Then we had a sales goal. If we hit the sales goal, all the managers were going to get different Sixers logos cut into the back of their head. And we hit our goal. All the barbers did it. We went on Fox 29 with Alex Holly. We made Bleacher Report. We made ESPN. We made all that. Then I started walking up and down the aisles at Target because I wanted to sell a partnership for it now. Now I'm gassed. I'm juiced. Like, what's next? And I always go back to that Air model, which I didn't know at the time. But in hindsight, everything was about access, information, representation. You want to sell a partnership for it. The floor minimum might be 6 figures, whatever it is. I don't know anybody trying to spend 6 figures on this barbershop night I came up with. But what I did find out, the access. There are barber events in Philadelphia, Connecticut, all over the place where people are doing fastest fades, quickest braids, logos in their hair. I go to one event to get that access, and I see partners and brands all over the place. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the right spot. Like I got the access. All right, now I need the right information. So now I'm asking the barbers that I know there, can anybody connect me with any of these brands? I know they have to be here because they're sponsoring an event. Can anybody connect me? So I got connected with a brand called Maestro's Classic. They actually happen to be in Target. That's why I brought up Target. Walking up and down the aisle, I saw their brand. I was like, let me reach out to that guy that I met at that works for Maestro's at that barber event. And we wound up talking. He came out. He saw the event in person. And we wound up doing like a 3-year, 6-figure partnership where he sponsored Barber Appreciation Night because he had a beard care company. Like this is before the beard care stuff really started getting popular over the past few years. But like at that time, like 2015, 16, 17, they were like one of the few beard care companies in Target. So that one to me is like my personal favorite because it's a true testament to the AIR acronym, but then also it's a very, very, very true testament to me being myself. Like I saw so many people like just go in different directions because they were trying to chase things other people were doing. And I'm like, to me, it makes sense. But my boss wouldn't believe me until I showed him a spreadsheet with all the barbershops in the 25-mile radius from the Sixers arena. And that's why I say you got to operate off the right information. It's not just about having access. It's not just about having the best idea, but how can you take that idea that's in your head and, you know, and translate it in a way that's articulate where somebody is willing to like almost put their career and invest in it with you. So, yeah, in the 25-mile radius of the Sixers arena, there was more barbershops than there were churches. There were more barbershops than there were schools. There were more barbershops than there were any of that stuff. So I said, once I have this information and this data, he said, I'll give you 2-3 weeks. I start calling barbers and everybody, and you know, next thing you know, we got some things rolling, and over time, it just took off.
That's an amazing story. How do you come up with ideas like that? I mean, that's an incredible story from just barbershops. So there you go. All right, who's next? Let me go here, Seth.
When you left the Sixers, was there something that came between the Sixers and SpringHill, or did you find them, or did they find you?
Honestly, at that time, I found SpringHill. I think at that point it was just my time, like being open, honest, transparent with you all. Like I had spent almost 8 seasons at the Sixers. It was my first job out of college. I worked there from 22 to 30. So like it was all I had known. It was a dream come true. But one thing that you'll realize too, working in sports a lot of times, especially when you're with a team, a lot of the marketing you do for my marketing people out there is everything you do has to be geo-targeted to your designated marketing territory. So you're not allowed to do things and cross over into other teams' territories. So if I'm the Sixers and I have this great idea like barbershop night, I can't promote it in New York because that's the Knicks and Nets territory. I can't promote it in Baltimore, D.C. because that's the Wizards territory. So I think with me, it was just like, all right, I want to continue to create ideas, but I want them to have more reach. Like even posting on social, we have to geo-target to the team's marketing radius of, 150 miles. So for me, a big purpose for that transition was just being able to grow, being able to do more things. I had learned a lot about team partnerships from LED signs to, on-court fan experiences and taking care of season ticket members. I wanted to learn a little bit more about content production because I felt like that's where the world was going a little bit, especially during COVID is when I made the transition. So being able to come here where we're doing deals, like I said, with Verizon, NFL, whatever it is, like, and all these people, and you're able to promote it throughout the country, and like went to Super Bowl this year to work on a brand partnership. Like it was just like things like that are what I came for, and it's been a beauty ever since. But it just was time. That's all. But I love the family over there.
All right, very cool. Go ahead, Ron.
Describe the feeling of
Yeah, no, I think that's a very important question. It's been amazing, honestly. I think it's the biggest gift that I can give to the world. Like, I think each one of you in here all have gifts that you were born with, that God has bestowed upon you, or whatever it is that you believe in. And it's up to us in that life journey to figure out how do we take this gift and pour it out into the world so other people can benefit and receive. So it gives me purpose, honestly. Like, I drove an hour and a half up here today from Piscataway to come out here. And I do it, without hesitation a lot of times for a lot of schools, because for me, like I said, I just feel like it gives my life purpose at this point. I think any of us, and as you get older, you'll probably see it as well, but like, you can chase that title, you'll hit it, you'll get it. You can chase that revenue number, you'll hit it, you'll get it. But then you almost like this hamster in the wheel trying to chase the next target without ever really feeling fulfilled all the way. And what I really looked at and sat back and thought about over the past 10 years since I've been in the industry, what gives me the most fulfillment and the most joy is when you guys reach out and set up a call. Then you telling me about your first interview. Then I see you interning. Then I see you get the job. And you're reaching out and we stayed in contact all this way. And just to know I had any role to play, even if it's just a small part, that means, my life was worth it and it meant everything in the world for me. So it is definitely a beautiful feeling, man. And it keeps me going every day.
Make sure you reach out to him, okay? Because he's offering his help, his mentorship. You want to take advantage of it and reach out. We'll provide that in the Pizza with the Pros group me. I'll provide the information on how to contact with Marquise. Carrie, you had a question.
Yeah. So you said before that you went 0 and 30 with internships.
Yep.
How did you keep going? And even your family say maybe you shouldn't do this anymore. How did you keep going?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the question. I honestly, it's the only thing I like. It had to be that. I don't know. I didn't know anything else I wanted to do. Mom's a receptionist, dad's a chemist, and I tried chemistry. That didn't work out. That was hard. But for me, I just felt like, I'm taking this big risk. Parents didn't go to college. I have to come out of here with something. I don't know if you guys ever seen that Denzel Washington meme, but he's like, I'm leaving with something. And that's kind of how I was looking at it. I have to come out of here with something. I'm gonna have the degree. I know it's not gonna be enough, but for me, I just knew it had to be possible. Seeing a gentleman, Michael Rucker, that worked at the Knicks I told you about, that went to my school, the representation, that's why the representation is so important. Because it's easy to give up when you start feeling like it's not possible. But the minute you see somebody that you see yourself in, you're like, I know it's possible. I just need to go about it the right way. I know it. It's somebody I could feel, I could touch, I could see, I could talk to. I know it's real. I know it's possible. That's why that R is so important. But I just had to look in the mirror, figure out what it was I was doing wrong. Do you guys have a student career development center here? Or anything like that? How many people have been before? It's okay. We're not here to judge. This is like a family zone, right? That's another thing that changed everything for me is after I went 0 for 30, I went to the Student Career Center and I'm a junior. I'm graduating next year. Something isn't working. It's your job to help me, right? So what's going on? And that's where I learned so much about the information. The first thing they did was they printed out a list of 50 interview questions that I most likely was going to get asked in sports and entertainment if I was trying to get a job. Then we practiced the answers to those 50 questions. After I went 0 for 30, I never not got a job I interviewed for after that. But it's because I was operating off the wrong information. So it's you can get the access, you can go into the room, you can get the interview. But if you're not answering the questions the right way, you're not saying the right things, you're probably going to end up with the same results. So you got to look in the mirror. It's not the world's fault. It's not the hiring manager's fault. The world isn't out to get you. You just got to change and tweak some things. So, and that's why I said, I had to leave with something. We didn't spend all this money to come out here and be yeah, sorry, Mom, Dad. I just went there and hung out, and I got a degree now, and I don't know what to do. I was like, I got to come out here with a job. My mom always told me, when you're done with that, you're not coming back here. I was like, all right, cool. But so,
whose parents have told you that? You're not coming back here. All right. All right.
Hopefully they don't say that.
Yeah,
my mom's just joking.
All right. Who's next? Go ahead, Noah.
So you said you were involved in a few clubs at East Stroudsburg.
Yes.
I'm a Rowan alum and a Rowan employee, and I was involved in student activities.
Yeah.
So what skills did your student activities club or the other clubs help you for your career?
Excellent question. And that's one of the main reasons you join clubs, right? Is to build transferable skills. What you're doing in the clubs might not necessarily be what you're going to do with a professional sports team, but a lot of the skills are transferable. So we've been talking about just hanging up flyers and promoting. When I did barbershop night, I had to go into the barbershops and put the flyers up. That's something I had been practicing doing since I was doing bake sales my junior year. So it's like transferable skills like that, like even just having the fear of rejection, like being able to say like, hey, come to this event, and people are like, oh no, I'm not interested. Sometimes that hurts. You're like, dang, I'm trying to do something nice for the people and nobody wants to come. So it's like, I think just dealing with that rejection allowed me to hop on the phone for a 10-win team and call 100 barbershops or call 100 season ticket members or people trying to get them to buy into what we're going on. So it taught me a lot about dealing with rejection. It taught me a lot about organizing an event. Like I could have never put together like this barbershop night thing had I not done a volleyball tournament before, a 3-on-3 tournament, a Special Olympics, a bake sale, like all these like events that I was organizing allow me to understand how to hit deadlines, how to hit targets. When do we need this information by? When do we need to start posting things up? Like, what does our 8-week marketing plan look like if we're 8 weeks out? Like, everything I learned in the clubs, I applied to that barbershop night idea, and that's why I feel like it was able to work out. But if I had to say, I couldn't even limit it. I would just say communication skills, sales skills, dealing with the fear of rejection, organization, putting on events, being able to work with a team, having disagreements, and still being able to come to a common goal. Like everything I needed to know in the workplace, I promise you, I learned it from the 5 clubs I was doing in school. It's just at a bigger scale as time goes on.
Go ahead, Carrie.
So you said that there's a lot of disagreements, and even before you said like sometimes you bump heads with people.
For sure.
So you're clearly very passionate about what you do. How
Thank you.
difficult is it when you bump heads with somebody that's being difficult? Like, what do you do to handle that?
It's tough. It's tough, man. I was just dealing with it earlier today. It's good, man. I think for me, I try to remove the emotion from it. I think when you're dealing with, especially dealing with creatives, like I feel like I'm passionate. I feel like creatives are even more passionate. And for whatever reason that is, there's some sort of correlation there, but I think it's like you have to remove the emotion from it. And that's something I pride myself on. Like, let's look at the facts. Like, I feel really strongly about this way. You feel really strongly about this way. All right, now, most importantly, which I'm always thinking is like a brand partnership person, what is it that the client wants? Now, how do I back into these and help them marry together? Like, our client could be here. The team internally can be here. I know I just got to get this closer and this closer to eventually we meet here. Everything is just to get us here. Like, it's not personal. Like, partner happy, I'm happy. That's my motto. And I think just dealing with that, if you're not bumping heads, I think I just saw a quote the other day. It's like, if 2 people agree, then 1 person's probably not needed. But it's like, and that's not necessarily true, but the point is, usually when you bump heads and get that, it winds up coming to a better result later on. As long as you keep the emotion out of it, no name calling or getting out of character, nothing like that. But it means you're pushing each other because you both care so much. I'd rather have that than to work with somebody who doesn't care and just like, yeah, Marquise, sure, whatever. Because we're not looking for the best optimal output. We're looking for the easiest course of action, which isn't going to lead to the best product. So sometimes, like, I like the bumping heads a little bit, but my main thing is just keep the main thing, and keep the emotion out of it, and that'll allow us to reach a tangible result that we can all agree upon.
What do you want to do? What's your goal? Like, do you have a goal over the next 5-10 years where you'd like to go?
Thank you. I feel like I'm hitting like a 31-year-old midlife crisis right now, because before I had always thought about that. Like every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I'm like, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? And then it's like after those things had got all checked off, I kind of was just like, how long is this going to last? Or how long are we going to keep doing this? You know what I mean? Like just moving the goalposts. So I think eventually, of course, being a CMO, CEO, all those things are great. So I have this path that I'm working on professionally where it's like, all right, I'm all good there. But I lie to you guys not. I have so much joy and passion out of doing these type of things that I would love to eventually be able to do that full time. So I'm building 2 tracks right now. One is, of course, everywhere I'm going in my professional career, keeping the main thing, putting projects together, deals, getting it done. So that way, if I ever do want to be a CEO, CMO, I can just go that route. But I also am building the path and the track where I speak at schools and speak at youth programs, et cetera. Whereas like, if I ever just wanted to be a full-time mentor for helping people get jobs in sports, and that's what I'm doing, and I'm working with Teamwork Online or Sportico or LinkedIn or these other people, that's another route I can go. So right now, I'm honestly torn, but I feel like as long as you keep moving both of those in the right direction, you'll be able to make your decision when the time comes.
All right. Who else got a question? We got about 5 more minutes. Who's question? Go ahead, Greg.
What would you say, because I know you really talked about the connections part, what would you say is more important? Now they're both important, but what would be more important having a boatloaded resume or building so many connections with other people?
I think that's a very fair question. It's a difficult one to answer because, to your point, they are both probably equally as important. I think from my experience, I felt that most people cared about what you've done, not necessarily always who you know. It is about who you know and about who knows you. That's why I'm struggling a little bit to answer this question because I don't want one of them to seem less significant than the other. But I feel like everything, it's tough, man, because if I didn't, know my professor and really build with him and do that networking, and he wouldn't have opened those doors for those internships for me, which then led to the Sixers. And like even just going to the Sixers networking event and meeting the hiring managers, like none of that would have happened if I didn't meet these people. But it also wouldn't have happened if I didn't have 5 clubs on my resume and then had a head of marketing for all 5 clubs. Because like we tried the way where we were just blind applying and we went 0 for 30. So that wasn't working. Everything changed once I did both simultaneously. I'm sorry, I wish I could give you one answer, but I feel like you have to marry them both together, and then lightning will strike when the time is right. But you kind of got to do both, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they're both significant, right? I think you need both. Obviously, you need the experience, but also you need the network to try to help you.
Yeah, because if you got all the experience and nobody knows about it, what good use is it?
Yeah.
But then if you know everybody, but you don't have any experience, then all right. I think that's like, all right, cool. What am I supposed to do with that?
You just also said an Alex Yo line. It's not who you know, it's who knows you.
It's who knows you.
Right? That's a powerful line that I tell a lot of our students as well.
Can I actually touch on that real quick?
Sure.
Alex Yo is a gentleman he just mentioned. Do they all know Alex Yo?
A lot of them know. He runs the Delaware Blue Coats. A lot of them have an idea. He teaches here as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of them should know him. But
yeah, and I'm here from a referral from Alex Yo. That's why these relationships that you're building are so important. Like I spent 8 years with the Sixers. A lot of that overlap was with Alex Yo before he went to the Blue Coats. Like he still was, I believe, working in PR at the Sixers at the time. My desk was right next to his back in like 2015, 16. And we grew over time, stayed in touch. He's over there running the Blue Coats. I spoke with him at another university like last year. And then when this opportunity came about, he's like, yo, I know what your mission is. I know what you care about. I have this great gentleman over here named Mr. Neal, got a great program going on at Rowan. And I feel like you two should connect. And just that's why it's like it's so important how you treat people, because I've never been here and met you guys, met this wonderful gentleman, had Alex and I not had a great relationship, and we maintain that. So keep these relationships. They're not going anywhere. The sports industry is very small.
It's a great point. I mean, that's how, and Alex said, I think Alex spoke the truth, right? Very passionate speaker. I love what your mission is about trying to help, students. And you're going to figure out as you get older, whether, the CMO route or your mentorship route, there's going to have some similarities. There'll be some synergy, I guess is a better word, between the two of them. Let's end on this note. So when you went to that Sixers career fair,
April 9th, I believe.
I'm sorry, April 9th.
Yeah,
my bad. April 9th. What do you want to tell these students when they go there? What should be their mindset? What should they be thinking when they're going there to that career fair? Any career fair, but let's just use the 9th as an example.
Yeah, all I can say, like I said, all I can do is be honest, open, and transparent with you guys. The thought process I had when I got in there, and hopefully some of you might have, we can't all leave with opportunities. It's only going to be about 1 or 2 people that actually get an opportunity. So when you're looking around the room and you see 30 people, 40 people, it might be daunting to realize the chances are very slim, or very limited. But that fear is probably coming from the lack of preparation you might feel, might come from imposter syndrome, whatever it is. But once you built up that confidence that, I've put in the work, I've joined the clubs, I've done the research, I've done these things, like go into that room, like with the confidence, like know who the hiring managers are, know who the hiring managers are, know a little bit about the team, know a little bit about the business of the team, but make sure that you're putting in the work and putting yourself in the best light. Because like I said, it's only going to be 1 or 2 people leaving with that opportunity. So go in there like your life depends on it. Like, just think about it. You apply for these jobs all the time on LinkedIn, Teamwork, or whatever. Now you have a chance to see the hiring manager face to face, in person. Like, this is your shot. This is your moment. This is what everything was for. This is what the classes were for. This is what pizza with the pros was for. Like, this is your moment to make your dream become a reality. And I would encourage you not to take it as anything less than that, because you don't get these opportunities too often. One thing I will tell all of you is you all will have your chance to get your dream job, whatever it is. You all will have that moment. You all will have that opportunity. I can almost guarantee it. The difference between the people who make it and who don't is who's ready when the opportunity approaches them. It doesn't always come back a second or third or fourth time. Sometimes it might be this one event on April 9th. Luckily for you guys, I don't think that'll be a case. There are more events coming on. Like, it's not that deep, but I just want to give you guys a glimpse into the reality I had. Like, I was going into junior year. I was 0 for 30. This is the favorite team. Somebody leaving this opportunity, it has to be me. So one thing I'll say on that, too, as you prepare, that confidence is so important. I went out and got new cologne. I promise. I want to smell good. I got a new tie.
You got a haircut.
Got a haircut. Got a haircut. I practiced my 50 interview questions. So I'm like, all right, tell me about yourself. I know how to answer that. Tell me what you're doing right now. I know how to answer that. So like I practiced the 50 interview questions, got the cologne, got the haircut, researched the company. I did all those things and went out there like, this is my opportunity. This is my chance. And nobody can take it from me. And that's the mentality I would encourage you all to have. So whatever it is you got to get, your perfume, your cologne, some new shoes, get in there, walk in there. It's your moment to shine. Don't let nobody take it from you. And if that don't work out, God got a better plan for you. But control what you can control at the very least.
Thank you, Marquise Watson. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Next week, our guest for next week actually had to cancel on me today. So we'll inform you about who our guest will be next week. I have some people. I think I have somebody, but I've been in here for the last 2 hours, so I don't know. but we've got someone, and then the following week will be our last one. So 2 more to go after this. This was a great one. Thank you for being here. All right. Thank you, Marquise.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you so much.